Are you comfortable? This is not going to be a short one. I've taken a long time to watch every little bit of this Severin Blu-ray box set entitled The Game of Clones Bruceploitation Collection Volume 1. This is a multiple disc set. This is a lot of movies. This is a lot of content. I'm not going to go granular on this, but I'm going to talk about this because this is one of the coolest box sets. I don't want to get boisterous and say I've ever received, but this is one of the coolest box sets I've seen in a really long time. One of these box sets where I just want it to be even longer than it is. I loved every second of this. And what is this about? So the broadscape is that this is about what they call Bruceploitation movies. In the wake of Bruce Lee's death in the early 70s, far too soon, there was this gap. He was this guy who rose up and was a phenomenon and suddenly was gone. And people, as they say in the documentary on this film, people still wanted Bruce Lee movies, but there's no more Bruce Lee. So what do we do? Well, a lot of people just found guys that maybe vaguely looked like Bruce Lee and they dressed him like Bruce Lee and they called him Bruce something and they put him in movies. They put him in a lot of them. So I'm gonna go disc by disc through this, and then I'll show you the packaging. This is a fabulous set. This is a pricey set, and I know some people I've told about this one. That's kind of steep. This is so worth it, whatever price you pay. And keep an eye out because Severin does a lot of sales, and Amazon does a lot of sales and things like that. But I would highly, if you don't want to watch the next, God knows, 45 minutes of what I'm going to say, I would highly recommend getting this before it goes out of print and then the prices skyrocket. I'm told that there are probably at least one more volume in this box set series coming. I can't wait. The box starts off with the new documentary directed by David Gregory entitled Enter the Clones of Bruce from 2023. It's a 94-minute documentary and alone is excellent. Any way you can see Enter the Clones of Bruce, do it. It is this phenomenal documentary about this Bruceploitation phenomenon. It talks to several of the guys who were the clones of Bruce, who were in these movies, the filmmakers and other people peripherally associated with Bruce Lee in these films. And it's just a fascinating look into this weird subculture or weird subgenre of martial arts and action films that basically spanned about a decade. It's thrilling, it's hilarious, it's pretty heartfelt, surprisingly moving at times. It's really, really good. And I've reviewed it elsewhere, so go to my YouTube channel, go elsewhere on this channel, and find my in-depth review of Enter the Clones of Bruce because it's fabulous and I love this movie. I was very lucky to be able to see this in a theater during its really short theatrical run with Bruce Lee in person and the production team in person. That was a highlight of my recent life, shall we say. But this film features Bruce Lee, Dragon Lee, Angela Mao, Sammo Hung, many, many people. It's got English, Chinese, and French subtitles. Special features. Again, I have voluminous notes just over there, so pardon the eye line here. Commentary by co-executive producer director David Gregory, co-producers Frank Zhang, Vivian Wong, and Michael Worth, and director of photography Jim Koons. Fascinating. A lot of people think, well, why would you listen to a commentary on a documentary? The documentary is telling you everything you need to know. I'm fascinated by how things come to be and by production, and you get so many cool stories about additional info that wasn't included in the documentary, how they got the interviews, how they got to locations where they were shooting. Great commentary. Working at Shaw Brothers Outtakes with Godfrey Ho, David Chang, Yasuai Kurata, Lee Chiu, Lo Mang, Mars, and Philip Ko. This is 19 minutes, and this is just, they explain at the beginning of each of these sections of outtakes on the Blu-ray for Enter the Clones of Bruce that the film was originally like 3 or 5 hours long. And what we're seeing here are sections of the film that just got dumped due to running time and flow of the film. So it's just more of the interviews, more footage and things like that. You get Bruce Lee and I outtakes with Sammo Hung, Philip Ko, Yesue Kurata, Mars, Angela Mao, Andre Morgan, Lee So Sam, and more. That's 24 minutes. The Lost World of Kung Fu Felt negatives. Outtakes with Godfrey Ho, Joseph Lai, Angela Mao, Lee So Nam, and film preservation. It's that 16 minutes that talks about preserving these films, how some were and were not saved, and what became of all this film that was made over the years, and what survives, who will survive, and what will be left of them. Bruce's Hong Kong location tour with Frank Zheng, that's 27 minutes. It's a fascinating look at places used in Bruce Lee films, places that were important in Bruce Lee's story, and original theaters that were owned by Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest. Severin's Kung Fu Theater with Michael Worth. That's a minute and a half. Now, there's one of these for every film on the set, and I love it. Michael Worth is a guy who made a really fun movie called Appleseed with starring himself and Rance Howard, father of Ron and Clint Howard. And he's a martial arts fan. He's a Bruceploitation expert. And he is sort of your guide through this set. And as you watch this set, as I watched this set, as I watch all these other films that these guys do commentaries and extra features on that are from martial arts world, they feel like friends. Like, I get to know their voices, I get to know their personalities, and it's cool. It's like hanging out with friends that are smarter than you about a subject you both love. So those Severin's Kung Fu Theaters, they're an ode to the old hosted movie programs on TV. So on each film, Michael Wirth will come out for about a minute or so and give you a little context for the movie you're about to watch, alternate titles and stuff like that. And it's light and it's fun, and then you go right into the movie. There are 3 trailers for Enter the Clones of Bruce on disc 1 that are 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and 30 seconds. Then we move on. I'm going to do the whole thing, so get comfortable. Disc 2. Now, okay, granted, it's taken me about a month or so to watch all this stuff. I'm going from my notes. I might not even remember all of these movies, but I can tell you every one of these movies is super fun. Disc 2 is The Clones of Bruce Lee. So each of these discs in this set has 2 movies and extras. You go to the main menu for the disc, you select which movie, and then there's the menu and the extras for that. So it's The Clones of Bruce Lee from 1980. It's 90 minutes. It's directed by Joseph Velasco with Dragon Lee, Bruce Lai, Bruce Tai, Bolo Young, and more. This was produced by Dick Randall, which is a name that should either get you excited or strike fear into your heart. That has the Kung Fu Theater intro by Michael Wirth. That's 2 minutes. So the deal here is Bruce Lee is wheeled into a hospital and soon pronounced dead. Soon after, a government-sponsored mad scientist comes in and draws some blood, uses that to create 3 clones that don't look alike or even tremendously like Bruce Lee himself. Bruce Lee 1, Bruce Lee 2, and Bruce Lee 3, as they're called in the film. Each is programmed while wearing a silver metal helmet and with wires attached to a machine with blinking lights. It uses actual footage of Bruce Lee and a photo of him in the coffin during a quick news report announcing his death. The clones then become government agents sent out on secret missions, including trying to stop a mad scientist in Thailand, turning men into bronze kung fu warriors. Look, if this movie doesn't sell this set on you, stop listening to the rest of what I have to say, because they're not all this crazy, but some of them are this crazy, and this is insane. Imagine if, imagine if some actor right now died and then suddenly this industry sprouted up of people making movies about fictionalized adventures this actor had and starring guys who kind of look like him. Tom Cruise dies and it's Tom Shoes and Tom Blues and Tom Ruse. This is some weird stuff. So a lot of hilariously gratuitous nudity in this film. Uses an instrumental version of the Rocky theme and the Warriors. That was a thing that was big in Hong Kong at the time. They would just take whatever records they had and throw those onto the soundtrack. So just wild, wonderful copyright infringement throughout these things. Bonus features on The Clones of Bruce Lee are commentary by Michael Wirth and Frank Jeng, Brandon Bentley, Bruce Lee historian, Chris Pajali, friend of mine, author of These Fist Breaks Bricks, Matthew Whitaker, co-host of the Clones Cast, action film historian Mike Leader, stunt coordinator John Kreng, and Rick Ben, brother of actor John T. Ben, who was in a Bruce Lee movie or two and also is in this film. Then we have extras, The Big Boss Remembered interview with actor John T. Ben. That's 17 minutes. It's sort of a bittersweet chat with the elderly mad doctor from the film in a nursing home, talking about his life and his career. Very aware of his mortality at the time, but very sweet guy. You get the 2-minute trailer that looks like maybe it was recreated from the new Video Master with the original trailer audio. Then the other film on this disc, disc 2, is Enter Three Dragons from 1978, aka Dragon on Fire, directed by Joseph Velasco with Godfrey Ho. This has Dragon Lee, aka Bruce Lei, Bruce L-E-I, Bruce Lee, L-I, Bruce Lai, Bruce Lei, L-E-A, and Bolo Young. We've got another Severin's Kung Fu Theater with Michael Wirth. That's 2 minutes. It's an 87-minute film. There's some comedic silly foo. It's about smugglers and brothers and a African-American martial artist. I honestly don't remember what this film was about. The trailer is under the Dragon on Fire title. It is 3.5 minutes, and it was sort of speckly and scratchy, but fun. Disc 3. Only 15 more discs to go. Disc 3 is Enter the Game of Death from 1978. It's 90 minutes, directed by Koo Sang Lin and Joseph Velasco, with Bruce Lei, that's L-E, Bolo Young, who's in a lot of these, and Steve James. It is in English, and it has English SDH subtitles. You've got the Kung Fu Theater intro that's 1.5 minutes. Music under the opening titles is a mix of Bond 77 from The Spy Who Loved Me and the Enter the Dragon theme, which shows up a lot in these movies. It has Leigh in the yellow tracksuit like Lee had in Game of Death, a pagoda sequence, a tall black opponent billed as Abdullah the Giant. As it said in the documentary and in a lot of the extras here, people knew about Game of Death, what turned out to be the final Bruce Lee movie that was made posthumously with only just a little bit of footage they had of Bruce Lee that he had shot for the final sequence in the film where he goes up the pagoda levels to fight Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at the top. People had seen photos of that, but they didn't really know what that was, and they built entire movies around that. They knew about the yellow tracksuit with the black stripe, and so a lot of these movies you see Bruce, Leigh, Lee, Lai, Lo, fighting people in a pagoda, fighting African-American guy in a pagoda with the yellow tracksuit or approximation of it. But they were basically trying to make the movie that Bruce Lee never made, but eventually did get made by the makers of Enter the Dragon. The plot, I don't remember. The bonus on this is a partial commentary with Michael Wirth. It's for about the first 40 minutes of the film. Scene-specific commentary with actor Chu Chi Ling, that's 4 minutes. Kung Fu Movie Hustle interview with Chu Chi Ling, that's 15 minutes. Talking a Good Game, which is a roundtable discussion with martial artists, kung fu film experts, Tadevik Hunyanin, John Krang, Ron Strong, and Michael Wirth. That's 11 minutes. And they have a lot of these where these friends and colleagues get together and talk about various aspects of martial arts films or going to see these movies or the Bruceploitation or Bruce Lee. You get the 3-minute trailer. Then Goodbye Bruce Lee, His Last Game of Death from 1975. This is directed by Bing Lin and stars Bruce Lee. Li. Starts off with a documentary about Bruce Lee with footage and some interview clips of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, narrated by Adolf Caesar, of all people. Segs into this fiction movie about finding a Bruce lookalike to finish the movie Game of Death, then cuts to him in a screening room watching the finished film, which we then see as the body of the film. It took me a while, and it took Michael Wirth's explanation for me to understand that that's what this movie is, because it's a little weird. But then again, most of these movies are a little weird and very wonderful. The guy's girlfriend gets kidnapped by bad guys, and he has to fight multiple levels of bad guys to get to the top and save her, and it has the yellow tracksuit. That's the basic theme of the body of this film. There's a fun King of Kung Fu theme song that gets used a lot on this set, which I now need to find the 45 of, and apparently was written by a young pre-fame Rebecca De Mornay. Next time you see her at a convention, bring that up. Bonuses on this are a commentary by Frank Zhang and Chris Pajali, Last Kung Fu Picture Show, Bay Area's movie theater era, talking about the San Francisco Bay Area, Hong Kong Kung Fu movie theaters for 12 minutes. 12 minutes of deleted scenes. Severin's Kung Fu Theater intro with Michael Wirth. That's 2 minutes, a 1-minute radio spot, a 4-minute trailer. Disc 4. The Dragon Lives Again from 1977, 91 minutes, directed by Chi Lo with Bruce Leong and Eric Sang as Popeye. This is arguably the most insane film on the set. I showed this film licensed for a special screening for the Patreon members of the movie theater that I work for, and this has, by and large, I've got more positive comments about this than anything. This has Severin's Kung Fu Theater intro by Michael Wirth. The basic idea here, this is an insanely goofy comedy, is that Bruce Lee wakes up in the underworld, which is the Chinese version of the afterlife, not looking like Bruce Lee, and a couple people mention that it doesn't look like him, and they say, well, after you die, your face looks different. So Bruce Lee wakes up in the underworld, and in order to get out, he has to fight all these like fictional characters. So he fights comedic versions thereof of Zatoichi, James Bond, The Man with No Name, Popeye, Dracula, Emmanuel. This movie is bonkers, and it has music lifted from Enter the Dragon and Kung Fu Fighting. This is a must-see film, by the way, gang. Commentary again with Michael Wirth and Frank Zhang for extras, deleted scenes from the French version, 7 minutes. Audio essay by cult cinema critic Lovely John, that's 41 minutes, and it actually plays as a commentary over the film, and then the film just keeps going when he's done. 1.5-minute trailer. Also on this disc, Bruce and the Iron Finger from 1979, 89 minutes. This is directed by Lupo 2 with Bruce Lee and Bruce Leong. This has the Kung Fu Theater intro by Michael Wirth. It's 1.5 minutes. And basically the deal here is a masked Kung Fu assassin is killing martial artists using the Iron Finger technique, and Lai is enlisted by the police to find the culprit. Some moments are missing footage, seemingly probably like there's little jumps here and there, which looks to me like maybe they cut out nudity or somebody wanted to keep the nudity for themselves. It's neat to see Bruce Lee every one of these is meant to be pronounced potentially accidentally as Bruce Lee. So Bruce L.I., Bruce L.E. Bruce Lee versus Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee, two black Bruceploitation stars kind of squaring off in a fun rooftop fight among the TV antennas with a middleman trying to stop their fracas. It leads to some very Chan-like, if you know what I mean, choreography and comedic kung fu. Some laugh out loud moments for me in some of the kung fu hijinks and choreography with Leong. The bonus on this is a commentary by Michael Worth, my first Bruceploitation roundtable discussion with the Kung Fu Pals, the US trailer that's 2 minutes, and a Hong Kong trailer that's 4 minutes. Disc 5. This, I think, might have been the only film other than the documentary that I'd seen before I got this set. Challenge of the Tiger from 1980. This was previously released on DVD as a double feature DVD from Mondo Macabro with For Your Height Only, which is a whole other discussion. That's the next Severin box set. Find all the Wang Wang films and put that Wang Wang documentary in there. This is directed by Bruce Lee, with Bruce Lee, Richard Harrison, Bolo Young, Jack Klugman, honestly, Dick Randall, and Jane Seymour. We'll get back to that. So this is 88 minutes. Scientists develop a formula that makes people sterile, and they're killed, and the CIA agents Lay and Harrison are called in to thwart the bad guys and get it back. It's got great foo. It moves right along. Ridiculous, gratuitous Richard Harrison introduction scene set to the song Montego Bay, where he's playing tennis against topless females. You'll never hear Montego Bay the same way again. I know I never have. You get Bruce versus a bull in this film. There's a lot of horizontal print damage on this, like thin, clear lines that almost look like video dropouts, but are not. They're just something inherent in the film itself. It's a bit distracting, or it was to me. Seems to go away after a while, but just be aware that it's not your player, it's not your TV, it's not your disc. Scanned from the original negative, so this really is as good as it's going to get. Harrison is this comedically suave Lothario who's just constantly bedding ladies. The extras on this are Severin's Kung Fu Theater with Michael Worth. That's a minute and a half. Commentary by Michael Worth and film historian C. Courtney Jr., who's on so many different films. I'm really shocked that he's also an expert in Bruceploitation movies. And a 4-minute trailer. The other film on this disc from 1985, which seems really late in the game for this, is The CAMEROON Connection. This is 91 minutes, directed by Alphonse Benny with Bruce Lee and Alphonse Benny, French audio with English subtitles. This one was kind of weird. This one almost to me didn't belong on this set. Kung Fu Theater with Michael Worth, 1 minute, and African cop investigates a death leading him to drug smugglers and a trip to France and back, where he meets up with Bruce Lee, who he sort of tries to join forces with to solve these problems. For me, probably the only movie I'm going to say this about on the set. Dull, meandering, and fairly poorly done. For me. It's clearly a vehicle for the star, Alphonse Benny, who'd been in another Fu film. Odd to see Lay in a relatively minor role in one of these. It's mostly not Bruceploitation, other than the fact that he's in it, aside from, like I say, Lay's scenes toward the end. Bonus on this, commentary by writer, Criterion Reflections podcast host David Blakesley. I turned it off because it was mostly just a play-by-play. Like, I kept jumping forward, and I'm like, he's just narrating what's going on here. Lights, CAMEROON Action, the life and films of Alphonse Benny, 48 minutes. 2022 Q&A with Alphonse Benny at the Cine Club Naka, 11 minutes. Now we go to disc 6. We're getting there, folks. Super Dragon, the Bruce Lee story from 1974, 93 minutes, directed by T. with Bruce Lee, L.I. This has got English dubbed with English SDH subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. English, I said that. Severin's Kung Fu Theater with Michael Worth, minute and a half. Shot in Taiwan, potentially the first Bruceploitation film, they said. It attempts to tell the adult Bruce Lee story, changing some names. He's never called Bruce in this, but by his Chinese name, Shoulong. And it feels like whatever year they shot this, basically. Very contemporary. Scenes are supposed to take place in the 60s. They clearly don't look like the 60s. And the contemporary haircuts don't change throughout the course of the film. It looks super rushed it feels super rushed from important iconic moment in his life from one to the next. It's like his life on fast forward. Supposed to be set here and there in the US and Hong Kong, but it feels like it never leaves this one neighborhood in Taiwan, more or less. There's some kung fu scenes, a little street brawling, and some shooting a scene sequences, but mostly it's a melodrama that focuses on his affair with Betty Ting Ting Pei and the period just like before his death. So very kind of, in a way, kind of grim and exploitative feeling. Some amusingly lackluster dubbing in this film, often making Bruce sound like monotone and emotionless. So it's not done by the people who usually do Kung Fu movie dubbing. The bonuses: partial audio commentary with Michael Worth for the first 40 minutes, a 30-second TV spot, which I actually have on film, funny enough, a 2-minute trailer that falsely advertises the film as starring Bruce Lee when it doesn't. But they would do that a lot. They would say, "See Bruce Lee," when what they mean is, see a guy playing Bruce Lee in other film on this. The Dragon Lives from 1976, aka He's a Legend, He's a Hero, 87 minutes, directed by Heisei Wang with Bruce Lai and Karen White. There's a Michael Worth intro that's a minute. It's a fictionalized birth to death biopic of Bruce Lee. And it's got any resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental disclaimer, which is hilarious because it's clearly supposed to be resembling somebody who's once alive and people who still are. Again, has Bruce and everybody else looking very 1974 the whole time, even when it's supposed to be set in the 60s. Even when he's supposed to be on Green Hornet, he looks like he does in the end of the film. It's the better made of the two film. There's good dubbing, there's good kung fu, some interesting camera work, some like weird diagonally stretched frame effects sometimes, some interesting editing in this. Weird Hoden training room with this odd electronic thing and colored lighting that he kind of becomes obsessed with, and he locks himself away in this room to train with this what looks like a supercomputer or voodoo supercomputer or something. This one also leads into his affair with Betty Ting Pei with a long sex scene set to like a melancholy song about time, and even strong men just died during this violent lightning storm. There's this weird like supernatural thing that kind of goes on throughout this film. Leans into this ominous thunder throughout the film, and lightning, thunder and lightning shot that they keep going to whenever Bruce talks about feeling like he's running out of time. It's really strange. Linda is fairly marginalized in this telling of the film. Linda Lee, his actual wife. Very strange, abrupt ending, but Bruce Lai, L.I., is really good in this movie. And that's the thing I got to say about all these guys in these movies. Acting, maybe yes, maybe no, but martial arts wise, the Fu is solid in all these things. And the guys who play Bruce Lee or the Bruce Lai or Bruce Lei or whoever character, the Bruce Lee avatar in all these films, they're all really good. So it's not like you're watching somebody pretending to be Bruce Lee doing really bad Fu. The Fu is solid. Extras. Commentary by actress Karen White Stedman, who plays Linda in the film, which is phenomenal that they got her, and she has such strong memories of this film and her time in China. And Michael Worth. Audio interview with He's a Legend, He's a Hero songwriter Anders Gustav Nelson, which plays as a commentary track. The Taiwan Connection on-camera interview with Karen White Stedman, that's 15 minutes, and it's very interesting, very cool insights. She's got a great attitude and clear memories about that time in her life. Bruce biopics. It's, again, let's call them the Kung Fu Pals. Kung Fu Pals Roundtable, talking about the Bruce Lee biopics. TV spots, 43 seconds. Disc 7, I swear to God, we're almost done. The Dragon the Hero from 1979, 87 minutes, directed by Godfrey Ho with John Liu, who some people now might know from New York Ninja, Dragon Lee, Bolo Young, and Mars, who was in a lot of Jackie Chan movies. English dubbed, English SDH subtitles. Opens with, if you want it to, Severin's Kung Fu Theater starring Michael Worth, which has a nice Jack Elam reference, which I can always appreciate. That's 2 minutes. Scanned from the internet, that's mispronounced in my notes, scanned from the internegative of the US version Dragon on Fire. Apparently no film elements could be found for this movie, for bits that were removed from this version, so they appear as deleted scenes from a tape source. Music from Star Wars and Dawn of the Dead ripped off in this film. John Liu goes undercover to bust up an antique smuggling ring, while another descendant of his fighting style pursues him to fight in a duel to the death. I kept losing the plot on this, but I still had a lot of fun with it. Liu is really good at kicking, which sounds weird, but once you see it, you're like, that guy's really good at kicking. They're goofy characters. Guy getting his Johnson bitten off by a dog. In my notes, I say getting his salami bitten off by a dog because clearly that's what they used in the film. Dragon Lee is cool with his Bruceisms and a single nunchuck on a ring, which was like his patented thing, but he's only like a bit player in this. So less Bruceploitation than some of these others. Bonus on this one, commentary by director Godfrey Ho and Michael Worth. Godfrey the Hero interview with director Godfrey Ho, that's 18 minutes. Deleted scenes, 23 minutes of deleted scenes from a lower quality non-film source, but widescreen. Interesting to compare the two the dubs that you hear. Sorry, it's interesting to compare the dubbing on this versus the burned in subtitles because they say two different things a lot of the times, which is just interesting to see how things get translated for different audiences. The trailer, which the US trailer, pushes Dragon Lee as the star and uses Star Wars music, which is great. The other film on this disc, Rage of the Dragon from 1980, directed by Shi Hyun Kim, with Dragon Lee and Carter Wong, who some people here might recognize from John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China. This has got an English dub with English SDH subtitles. Severin's Kung Fu Theater with Michael Worth intro that's 2 minutes. Something about a dead father or dead master. Revenge. Dragon Lee's clearly the star in this one, and he's like a total dynamo. He's really impressive to watch. Very beefy guy. Some odd synth moog electronic bleep bloops when he's doing his fights, which is kind of amusing. Some humor woven in here and there, which is nice in some of the conflicts. One of the bad guys at one point says, "Prepare to die," which is always appreciated. A guy with a giant mole birthmark on his nose that looks like a bug that's really distracting, and I don't know that it's ever really addressed in the film or in the commentary. There's never a long wait between fights in this film, which is the strength or weakness of martial arts movies. You know, you don't want it to be all talk and like, where's the action? But if it's nonstop action, that kind of gets boring at too. So this movie kind of has a really good balance of that. There's a crazy final melee with Lee and Carter Wong at the end of this. And it's a fun movie. So bonus on this, commentary by Michael Worth and Chris Pajali, Kung Fu Theater's roundtable discussion with the Kung Fu friends, and the trailer. Bonus disc. Okay, so everything I just told you is what's in the standard version of this. There is a limited number of this box set that comes with an extra disc with 2 more movies on it. I was lucky to get that version. There was also an early version of this available as a bundle that came with all kinds of like posters and magazines and stuff, but I just got the standard with the bonus disc. So the bonus disc is the long sought after, apparently, The Big Boss Part 2 from 1976. 91 minutes, directed by Chin Che with Lo Lei, Wang Ping, Michael Wei Man Chan, and Bruce Lei. Chinese with English subtitles. It's got the Severin's Kung Fu Theater intro that's 2 minutes. Super rare. It was only ever on VHS until now. This is from the only known print in existence, which I think is the case of a lot of these, is that they're doing their best to track down usable copies, but some of the stuff is so rare and was always ever seen as to be the thing that would be played and then kind of discarded once it wasn't making money anymore. Who cares about these movies? Luckily, Severin and other people are there to save these things so that weirdos like me can salivate over them decades later. This is a sequel with Bruce Lei as the Bruce Lee character from the original, but only briefly. The film really is a revenge plot with Lo Lei visiting Bruce, supposedly Bruce from the original film, in jail after the events of the original Big Boss, asking him who killed his father, and then setting off on his own path of revenge, working under a new Big Boss, female Big Boss this time, and it's just a lot of fights. Not that great, but interesting to see, and I guess a lot of people would look in this forever. This is one of, they talk about this a little on this set, where these movies that would be sequels to Bruce Lee movies that were in no way connected to the original or even like legally connected to them, but they're like, yeah, we're going to continue that story. We're going to insinuate that this is the official sequel. It steals James Bond music, including the Bond theme at one point during a third act boat chase. I don't know if they were trying to intentionally reference From Russia with Love or what. The trailer, its extras are lean on this one. A 3.5 minute trailer that zoomed in and looks a little weird, like a standard def YouTube clip maybe, and it's English dubbed. The other film on this, the last disc, I swear, is The Dragon versus the Yellow Tiger from 1974. This is directed by Che Yang with Lung Tang, and this says Jackie Chan, and I don't remember Jackie Chan being in this film, so maybe I fell asleep. I don't know. This has got an English dub with English SDH subtitles. Severin Kung Fu Theater. It's 1.5 minutes. Print is in very rough shape, but good color. It is an unofficial sequel to Way of the Dragon. The mob is seeking revenge for Bruce Lee killing their operative in Way of the Dragon, who may be referring to Chuck Norris or Bob Wall. So they send goons out to find him. And now I think this is the story of the film. The goons find this guy who looks like Bruce Lee, but is related to him or something. And he's just like, oh, no, I'm Ting Fan. You want Ting Pan. There's some good fights and some silly moments, and it's just a frivolous, weird, bizarro, unofficial sequel to a Bruce Lee classic. And it lifts the Enter the Dragon theme and the Superfly, a cover of the Superfly theme. So that's all I have to say about this. But you do want to look at this. So it comes in a nice case. Come in. Hard case. Holding the book. 2 books, actually. There is a booklet that comes with this that is very thick and very substantial. Legacy of the Dragon Volume 1. Whenever you get a set like this and it says Volume 1, you're like, ooh, there's more in the works. And it's just a lot of text and a lot of images. This is like literally a book in and of itself. It's amazing. And then the packaging on this is great. So you get this original artwork that portrays all the various clones of Bruce. And then as you go, you get a little bit like breakdown of the specs on each film. And each film is, each disc is in its own sleeve. So it's really nicely done. I mean, really nicely done. I'm generally not a fan of like the sleeves and slots and things like this, but this is really cool. And then in the last page, if you've got the bonus disc version, there's a little envelope tucked in there with the last disc. So at long last, I have reviewed this set. This set is so good. This set, if you're a martial arts fan, this is a must. If you're a Bruce Lee fan, this is a must. If you're a Bruceploitation fan, I don't know why you wouldn't get this. Available while supplies last from Severin Films. I cannot wait until they put out Volume 2, is The Game of Clones.